The Sigma 18-50 f2.8 is the type of lens that every single photographer, street or otherwise, should have in their bag. The one skeleton in this lens's closet is that it is in fact a zoom lens. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, thanks for tuning in for the first time. If you like what you see and you got a spare minute, feel free to leave a comment, a like, subscribe, you know the drill. Just help me out with the algorithm a little bit. I really appreciate it. Now, I've owned this lens going on 2+ years now, something like that. I've taken probably tens of thousands of photos with it. And so I feel that in my kit, this lens has an absolutely incomparable place. You know, this lens or something like it will always have to be with me. It's just too versatile, it's too good. And so I wanted to talk about it here on the channel, and I wanted to talk about the standard zoom's place in a street and travel photographer's kit without necessarily doing a review. Like I said, it would just be me telling you how good the lens is. We all know that. It's been out forever and it's been reviewed by far more technically inclined people than myself. Everything that you see in this video, from the talking head you're watching now to the videos and photos that I got out in downtown Seattle, are going to be taken with the 18-50, obviously with the exception of the B-roll of the lens itself, but I think that goes without saying. Now, just a quick bit of background and context about how I use the lens, how I shoot in general. Like I said, I'm a full-time traveler street photographer and a hybrid shooter as well. So I would say that I'm about 50-50 between photo and video. And with that in mind, I still recommend this lens. It's still just such a workhorse for everything that I do, everything I put it through. It's easier, it's quicker, just because I live out of a suitcase, and it serves its function as my kind of main video lens very, very well. Now, do I wish I could be out with like anamorphic cinema lenses and like a cinema camera and everything? Sure, in a perfect world, but I'm not shooting Netflix documentaries, you know? So slap the 18-50 on the H2S and I find that I have more than enough video firepower and of course plenty of capacity for fantastic photos all at the same time. Now, if you are interested in more of a proper review, I will give you my rapid fire kind of 2 cents real quick, just if you're curious about my official pros and cons list for the 18-50. Let's start with negatives. The build quality, it's plasticky, it's extremely plasticky. I would go so far as to say, would I love a more substantial, heavier metal lens? Absolutely, but I will say that the build also cuts down on weights. It keeps things light and small at the same time. I also wish it had an aperture ring. I've come to kind of get over it, especially on the H2S, which has plenty of customizable buttons and command dials. Now on to the positives. Weather sealing, although I'm not ultra confident in it, given some of the reports that I've seen, it has survived everything I've put it through, from frost to snow to rain to dust, sea spray, the whole, 9 yards. I do also insure all of my camera gear just in case, but I've never had an issue with this lens, failing me in a harsh environment or anything like that. It's sharp all the way through the zoom range. Honestly, everything I could expect from a standard zoom lens. It doesn't really falter as far as I can tell, as far as I can notice. I don't do a lot of pixel peeping, but I've really never had an issue with the image quality or sharpness out of this. It also focuses super quickly because the 18-50 was designed for much more advanced autofocus systems than Fujifilm's. So I can safely say that the 18-50 takes full advantage of the antiquated autofocus that we have in Fuji cameras. And would I ever switch it out? Would I ever change it out for a different lens one day? Perhaps I might upgrade to the 16-55 that Fujifilm makes. That would give me the better build quality, the better weather sealing, slightly better glass, and of course the aperture ring that I know and love from all of my other Fujifilm primes. I know that ostensibly the quality would be better both in photo and video. That's something that I've definitely considered, but as I mentioned, that lens is heavier and much more expensive and much larger. For my current stage in life, what I'm doing right now, living out of a backpack and a suitcase, no, I'm not gonna switch it out anytime soon. Now, as you've likely gathered, I'm not much of a technical reviewer, and if I'm talking about gear on this channel, it's generally because I want to have more of a conversation about how that gear makes me feel, whether or not I enjoy shooting with it, how it impacts my larger workflow, things like that. So here's the part of the video where I'll say that while I think everybody should own one of these, and maybe it should even be your first lens, the one skeleton in this lens's closet is that it is in fact a zoom lens. And while that is a massive positive for a lot of reasons, and this lens has a very important place in my setup, it still is a zoom lens. And I'm not saying this for any kind of pretentious reason like street photography is only street photography if you're shooting with, you know, a manual 35mm prime and you're risking a physical altercation with every single photo a la Bruce Gilden in his fishing vest. Primes are just objectively better in every way. Technically speaking, they're sharper, faster, smaller, lighter, typically cheaper, have less distortion, have less reliance on digital corrections. Very, very basically, the one thing that a zoom lens has going for it is that it zooms. That is the thing that makes it a worse lens than pretty much any prime lens, but also makes it much more versatile. I also think that primes are a really critical part in any photographer's journey to understanding composition and learning, you know, your own personal style, what you look for, how you approach certain scenes, and so on. They narrow your choices down to just light and angles. When you don't have to pick something on a zoom range spectrum, it takes that much more decision making and critical creative thinking to craft a meaningful composition. So I'm going to make a sweeping generalization, regardless of how inadvisable that might be to do on the internet. I think that every single photographer should own a lens like this, either something like a 16-35 or a 24-70, one of those kind of standard f2.8 zoom lenses that every camera manufacturer has for pretty much every camera that they've ever made. I think it's a critical piece of your kit, but I also think it's a stepping stone to bigger and better things. Buy a lens like this. Shoot with it for a year, and then your mission, if you choose to accept it, is go into your Lightroom or Capture One catalog, find your favorite photos you've ever taken, and go and take a look at what focal length each of them were taken at. Now, if you notice a trend, say for example, all of your best photos were taken at 50mm or 24 or 35, go out and do your research and buy a really nice prime lens that is at that most used, most frequented focal length. Then put your standard zoom lens on a shelf, out of sight, out of mind, and shoot with only that prime for a long time, for months and months. And do not pick up that standard zoom lens until you are capable of getting fantastic shots with that prime. Take my advice or leave it, it's up to you. But in my experience, that process of struggling with a single prime after being reliant on a zoom lens to kind of cover every conceivable base, that developed my compositional eye and my skills as a photographer 10 times faster. I see tons and tons and tons of photographers get caught in the standard zoom lens trap where they're stuck carrying around this big bulky setup that just doesn't really specialize in any one thing. They never master a focal length, they never learn how to see the world in 35mm or 24mm, and I would argue that that is an essential part of your development as an artist, as a photographer, and so on. So that's my unreview of the Sigma 18-50. It's a fantastic lens. There are tons and tons of lenses like it that are also fantastic, and it is the lens that everybody should probably own. Do you agree? Do you not? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me I'm wrong, feel free. Just give me a good reason why. As usual, thank you very much for watching this video. It really means the world to me to have your support, and I will talk to you very soon in the next one.